For Victims and Villains, my name is Josh, and today we are talking about the independent release of the movie Continue. Continue is a character study about a young woman who essentially goes through a battle of depression, suicide ideation, and more. And essentially, we spend 2 hours with her in this incredibly vulnerable journey. And I really want to emphasize that word vulnerable because this movie is written, directed, produced, and stars Nadine Crocker. And this feels very autobiographical. And this movie is not for the faint of heart. This has been one of the most challenging films that I've had to sit through this year. And we recently just watched The Human Centipede 2 on Abyss Gazing. If that gives you just any kind of idea about how heavy thematically and how uncomfortable some of the subject matter that Continue addresses. Now, with that being said, this is arguably one of the most important films that we've gotten this year in terms of dramas or films that are boldly embracing the conversation of mental health and depression. And while there are some low parts in this movie, overall, this is one of the best films of the year and will no doubt be involved in the hidden gem conversation for 2024. Imagine taking movies like Girl Interrupted or It's Kind of a Funny Story and really stripping away the comedic elements or the more some wholesome elements and really just diving headfirst into the conversation of depression, suicidal ideation, anxiety, alcoholism, drug addiction, etc. And that's honestly what you get when you sit down to watch Continue. And honestly, I think Crocker does an incredible job across the board. This is one of the best written scripts there. My only complaint with the script is that I really wish some elements kind of were amplified a little bit more. Some relationships got a little bit time to condense, but that is not necessarily a comment on the quality of the product, but necessarily the medium in which the story is taking place. I think this film would have been really suited for an extra hour and for even arguably a limited series. On top of Crocker, this movie also has an incredible ensemble cast that has been assembled for the part. Shiloh Fernandez, Emily Deschanel, Lio Tipton, and really everybody that's in this film delivers a powerhouse performance and arguably one of the best in their careers, especially Deschanel. I grew up watching Bones, and so to get to see her in a much more dramatic, much more vulnerable role had me in tears, and that is one of the multiple times that this film just really felt like a gut punch as I was watching it. As I previously mentioned, I really wish that there were some areas of this that were further explored, but the story that is being told here and as is just nothing short of incredible. This movie is just a beautiful reminder of the value of life, and I just think, honestly, when you talk about mental health and you talk about the struggles, this film captures it in one of the best ways that's ever been dramatized that is not in the format of a documentary or an autobiographical content, but just a very real, vulnerable performance from its cast and the themes that it addresses. And yeah, I'm really thankful for this film, and I'm just going to run this one through the Rorschach rating scale. This one's going to be a shorter video for sure. But I'm going to go ahead and give Continue a 4.5 out of 5. I think this is going to be, without a doubt, a hidden gem. And this film is a conversation starter. This is one of the heaviest thematic films that I've seen, with some of the best performances and best writing. And this movie is just nothing shy of vulnerable and incredible and naked and bare, and I am here for every second of this, especially with a platform like ours. Continue is now playing in limited release from Lionsgate and will most likely be hitting VOD here shortly. Now, this is normally the part of the video where I would talk about the mental health aspect of the film which we're reviewing, but this movie honestly does such an amazing job at talking about mental health that I'm just going to let this film speak for itself and just remind you that if you or someone you know is struggling with suicide, click the links in the show notes below to check out our mental health resource library. Continue is now playing in theaters everywhere, or at least in limited release from Lionsgate. In the show notes below, not only will you guys find our mental health resource library as previously mentioned, you guys will also find links to our podcast network, which includes podcasts, as previously mentioned, Human Centipede 2, fellow upcoming release, the 4:30 movie from Kevin Smith, more movie reviews like this, our social media, and that subscribe button. So until next time, remember to stay classy and check out Continue.